You know, in the middle of all this craziness, I've been talking a lot on the show for months now and years personally, that there's this silent majority out there. These people that they work 9 to 5, they go to their kids' Little League game, they're in the PTA, and they don't have time to go to protests and rallies and all this other stuff, Xen. You know, you face all this stuff, right?
I do.
Our next guest, Jonathan Jakubowski, joins us. He's the author of the Bellwether Blues, a conservative awakening of the millennial soul. And it really seems like even if you're not a full conservative, it's a time where the silent majority sees such a contrast that I feel like people are awakening who don't usually speak up. What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, John, thanks for having me on your show. First of all, it's an honor and a privilege. Very grateful that you would have me on. I definitely think there's truth to the silent majority. And I look at it from the vantage point of swing counties. So in the United States, we have 3,142 counties nationwide, and there are only 59 that meet the designation as being swing, as having voted for Bush in 2000, 2004, Obama 2008, 2012, and Trump in 2016. And my county, Wood County, happens to be one of those swing counties. So in the swing county context, there's a lot of silent voters that are out there that really are going to decide who's going to win the 2020 presidential election race, as we saw in 2016. And I made the bold thesis as I investigated the millennial generation, my generation. I wanted to see how did they vote in 16? What were their voting persuasions? So that's really what led to the genesis of Bellwether Blues.
Xen?
You know what, Jonathan, I am so intrigued with your background and with your inspiration for even researching this. And can you tell me a little bit more about the Bellwether Blues and how you have decided to, number one, figure out that this is an actual thing, because it is, and is the discrepancy coming from I don't want to say that I'm a Trump supporter, or is the discrepancy coming from I don't have enough time?
Well, as I looked at the data, one of the things that I knew inherently being a millennial is that there were a lot of millennials that didn't fit the stereotype. You know, the stereotypical millennial who's in the basement until 45, who's out there tearing down statues, is woke. You know, I knew a lot of millennials that didn't fit that stereotype, and I wondered, is there empirical evidence to back that? Well, what I found as a result of that research is that the left has gone so far left of center. They've gone all the way away from freedom, the classical liberalism, the tenets of it that Thomas Jefferson and James Madison would have stood for, that in their abandonment of those principles, they left a whole bunch of millennial voters who would otherwise be predisposed to voting in their direction. And now these millennials are skeptical, they're disillusioned, they're frustrated. In other words, they've caught a case of the blues. That's why I titled the book Bellwether Blues. But that doesn't mean that these voters are necessarily embracing conservative principles. They're not necessarily going for, candidates of a specific party. They're kind of in the middle. And what I did is used that knowledge and that empirical evidence to go deeper into a swing county, again, Wood County, to understand what were the things that were happening on the ground in swing counties. So I look at 7 stories of 7 millennials in Wood County who did change their votes. They went all the way across. They voted for Obama, then changed their voting persuasion to Trump. And not all of them necessarily liked Trump, but they voted for him because of certain principles that they were awakened to.
It's pretty amazing when I look at it and I see that Donald Trump, on a percent basis, he really made some gains that were unheard of, even coming into office with the African-American community. And then he was winning on all fronts. Best employment in the African-American community, best small business starts in the African-American and minority community, most home ownership increases. And when you look at this stuff, it's almost like when Joe Biden says, if you don't know who you're voting for, then you ain't black. It makes sense to me that even the African-American and minority numbers are being underreported because people are kind of getting shamed by the lamestream media into saying that they like a guy who's helped their community more than anybody in history except maybe Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I definitely saw a movement like that. Blexit is the term that's used, blacks exiting from the left, Lexit, Latinos exiting from the left. Well, in Wood County and in Bellwether Blues, there are a couple of stories of black voters who changed their voting persuasions. And I looked at their stories and analyzed what was it that led them to change. One of them was from inner city Cleveland, grew up with a father and a mother in the home, and then moved to Bowling Green, Ohio to go to university. And through the process of raising his own family, one of the things that's, I think, a misnomer about millennials is that they're all on college campuses. Not anymore. Millennials are now aged between 24 and 39 years of age. So we're starting to have families. We're entering into the job market. We're starting to pay taxes. Well, in Aaron Lawrence's life, who was from inner city Cleveland, he started seeing these things and realized that the way that he voted had a direct impact on the future of his children. And that's what led to his awakening. What I did find throughout all of the stories, John, is that in each and every one of them, there was a mentor that stepped into their life. Every single one of them had individuals that came into the picture who helped them understand more about why voting matters and really cared for them and invested into their lives.
Amazing.
And one of my critiques,
Jonathan,
really, of the
let me tell you, in the last 60 seconds, do you feel that there is a hidden Trump voter? Do you feel that exists somewhere, and where is that hidden Trump voter?
Well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in these swing counties, and I think they're coming out in mass. We had 7,000 yard sign requests in 2016 in a place where there were only 64,000 votes. Those sign requests are only increasing, as we've seen so far. So they're on the perimeter of Wood County. They're in swing counties throughout the country, and I think we're going to see more and more of them as we get close to November.
Hey, Jonathan, it's John Tabacco. I'm good friends with John McLaughlin. He was one of the only pollsters that got it right, and he was digging into these swing counties, and that's why Trump was making these last-minute jaunts into, these small places in Minneapolis and Michigan and all over the place. That's what really won it, those small counties. Do you have some info on sign requests and anything like that? Maybe you could come back with us every week and give us some little update on how that's going?
He will check back in soon, but I think we're out of time.
All right.
I think we're out of time right now.
Jonathan Jakubowski, thank you very much. He's the author of Bellwether Blues, A Conservative Awakening of the Millennial Soul. And you got to go to bellwetherbluesbook.com and Amazon, Apple, all those other things. But if you go to bellwetherbluesbook.com, then you won't get hit with the Amazon fees. So buy it direct. And
Double ding.
We'll check back with you soon, Jonathan. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Them.
Bye. Take care.